Do you program all the events?
I program all the events. Yes, I do.
Do you have anybody help you with that?
I have people help me test them. The events we had this year, I probably programmed a lot of those in like October, and then they got changed probably 3 or 4 times before it became what it was. I don't think I have a single workout. I only had one workout that I wrote that I kept, but we didn't do it.
There are limiters as you advance up the ranks within the sport. Well, a lot of the women that are in the lower half of that field that weekend, they might have elite conditioning. Give
Yeah,
them open style
correct.
workouts, burpees, box jump overs, kettlebell swings, wall balls, running, rowing, whatever. But you start getting to the wall facing strict handstand push up, the legless rope climb, the heavy rep volume deadlifts. Like that's where you'll start to see some people really come to
Well,
like a stop in the workout where they can't flex that aerobic muscle.
The deadlift rope climb one. I thought that was my favorite workout of the whole weekend because there's just so many like variables for people to kind of make their move and to get ahead, or if they were going behind, like what they were going to do next. It felt like it went by a lot faster just because there's so many like moving pieces going forward.
The Fitness Movement is brought to you by Zor Fitness. We offer coaching and individualized program design, as well as educational content for coaches and athletes. It's all one place, zorfitness.com. It's going to be cool because we got like multiple perspectives here from Cam, who was the MC, basically called all the events. Brian, who's obviously running the live stream and like got to see a lot of this firsthand, and then athlete perspective and event organizer's perspective here as well. So we good.
absolutely.
Brian, I'll start with you. Like, was there anything like big picture of the weekend that was like that stood out to you about like MetCon Rush that was maybe unique from like other events?
Some of the things that I always love when I go to an event for the first time is the things that are inherently unique. The venue and the people that are running it. I would say it's pretty common for competitions to have a native group of athletes or gyms that regularly participate there. And I think, over time, it's on the competition team, the really core team, Tim, and maybe the 5 to 10 people that are most involved with it to try to keep the evolution of the competition, moving in a forward, direction so that that group of people is continuously wanting to come back and getting, feel like they're getting something new or different or fresh year after year. And when you have a competition that's 10 years deep and it's your first year there, like, I also come in with the understanding that there's a lot that I don't know. And so I just kind of try to appreciate it for what it is. The small things that it might be like a small thing that Tim says, like, I own all the equipment there. But that's actually like a huge statement of like
That stood
years
out to
and
me when he
years of
said that. I
making
was
a
like, wow.
decision.
He's like, this doesn't get used except for MetCon Rush. I was like, whoa. I don't know how many. I mean, I'm sure the big ones, but like, most of the like regional comps, like I'm sure they're just stealing it from their gym or wherever they set it up from. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I don't know. I thought the venue was I thought it was a clever use of space. I've been doing these like venue walkthroughs, and because everyone has these sort of different ideas, but for me, like the vendors were right in the middle of everything there. That's a huge win because they're obviously investing in Tim and believing in Tim to be a part of that, and he put them in a location where they're accessible and visible to everyone. Two competition floors in the same space can be a problem from an audio perspective, but having the vendor there in the middle and the way that he sets up the speakers, it worked. When I was live streaming on the main floor, I wouldn't have even known there was another competition floor in the same physical room that we were in. So, I kind of try to pay attention to some of those details, and I think that, however much thought or not that Tim that you've given to it, it seemed to work out. The flow of the space seemed to work out really well for everyone.
Yeah. Well, first off, you said all the equipment that we own. Just to put in perspective, we just finished tear down this morning, which is crazy. So like
Yeah.
it just got put back today. So that's part of the headache of owning all that stuff. And then when the weekends is that you don't get quite as much help for tear down. So we literally just finished at 11 a.m. this morning. So, um, but yeah, I mean, one thing that I don't have a lot of as far as resources around here is like as venue wise, I don't have a lot of those. So like HCC is pretty much for the most part my only option. And so I've had to try to get as creative as possible with the venue. Also, you notice like majority of that venue is a wooden basketball court. So like we can only utilize certain portions of it for barbells and things of that nature. So
Yeah.
definitely there's been a lot of visual walkthroughs, talking things out to make sure that the setup is ideal for all those things. That's definitely not by chance. I would love to have more of like a convention style center like location, but there's none around here. So I mean, you can find them, but the trip is not worth it because of A, all the stuff we have to haul, and then B, a lot of the volunteers for the most part are from my gym, so it'd be hard to get them to kind of maybe travel that far for a weekend and stuff like that. So, but just to touch on what Brian said, yeah, there's definitely a lot of thought that goes into the setup, the way the events flow, and then obviously maximizing the space. I mean, really, like for example, the outdoor venue, we did that with the thought that if we couldn't get the inside done in time, we had to make sure we had a space that we could run our Friday event. So we were able to actually get that second floor done really early this year, and we probably could have ran that lift inside, which would have made my life a million times easier, and probably made Brian's a million times easier as well because of the Wi-Fi and stuff. But I do think like unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to watch the outdoor lift. I didn't see a single second of it because I was inside kind of setting up. But going back and watching the live feed and getting some of the feedback it was a pretty unique athlete experience. So that was kind of cool.
This is a sweet location. I mean, it's literally perfect
It was
for
really
like
cool.
one of the big issues I think for a lot of comps that aren't in like arena is that like seating is a disaster a lot of times where it's like you're just pushing past people to be able to see like the people you care about. Whereas like that, it was like
Yeah.
movie theater seating where everybody could get a good vantage point, which is sweet.
That was 3 years in the making. So we actually I didn't even know that existed. We were talking about doing some running stuff, and my brother just happened to like drive by it. And like, dude, there's like this big theater outside by the college, and I had no idea it was there. I was like, oh wow. So I mean, I had thought about pulling the trigger on that for last year, and just the one thing that me and my brother always talk about is if it just don't try to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes when you get a little bit of success, so I'm not saying that everybody does this, but some people try to go more and more and more and more instead of just sticking with what you have and making that better and better and better. And so you can stack on top of that, so things run really, really well. And I definitely think this was the first year we really added something, in my opinion, that put a little bit of overload on us as from behind the scenes. I think I could be wrong in saying this. I think from like a athlete perspective, even like our judges and our staff, they probably didn't feel kind of what we felt as far as being a little bit overextended. But I thought it went really well considering the fact that it was only used for a couple hours. As far, I mean, I would love to use it all weekend for all of our athletes. I think it would be really cool to give everybody an opportunity to kind of experience what that felt like for you guys. But unfortunately, I think Brian can provide a test to this when he talks to most event organizers. Is this help is always the premium. You know what I mean? Like we would need 30 judges at one time to run three different locations. You would need at least 30 staff members, another third MC, things of that nature. And it's just like at that point, is it really worth it? And I had a lot of athletes go, "Oh man, we want to lift. We want to lift." 'Cause we gave most of the teams a run this year, but that was designed so that we could get a big flux of athletes done at one time and not run our event till midnight. And so that the experience of being there, is still at a high premium because when I run this event, I was pretty competitive up until about 2018. I missed regionals by like 60 spots in 2018, like when regionals was a thing. And I got hurt the following year to the point where I needed surgery and things of that nature. And then obviously COVID, then they got rid of regionals. They became sanctionals and COVID hit. And so that kind of derailed my athletic, my CrossFit, career or whatever. And so everything I do now as an event organizer, like, what would I want to see if I was the athlete? And so I try to run pretty much everything I do, whether it's the flow of the event, the way it feels, the way it looks. I try to do that, like you said, not stepping over people, trying to watch like your family member or your favorite athlete compete. Like, how can I make this as enjoyable for everybody? And what would I want to see if I was the one competing? And so a lot of times that's kind of been my mindset when I do these things, is just like from the athlete's perspective, as long as it's capable to happen, as an event director kind of thing. So
Yeah. I would imagine that it was just a lot. I mean, you're saying like equipment wise to get everything from the,
Yes. So we had to haul
because you
up
have to move it all over there and
4,000.
then move it all
Yeah.
back, and it's
We,
all like before.
yeah.
Like you're saying, you take the whole week to set up essentially. Now it's like you have like just a fraction of that time to get everything from the amphitheater back to the main venue.
So the one thing that's tough for us is we're at the mercy of the college. So like they have summer league basketball like all week long, and so like this is kind of like I guess no one really knows the whole entire behind the scenes pictures of what we do here. So at the end of the day, in order for me to run this event at college, it has to happen before school starts, because once school starts, you have basketball in there, you have volleyball in there, all these different things happening, right? And then obviously we want to attract athletes like you for the individual side that are competing, and the season itself has gotten so crazy that like I can't do it any earlier than July, or else I'm probably gonna lose out on some of the more elite athletes. So we're really handcuffed into this, like, and then after us, it's the CrossFit Games and all these other events. So we're handcuffed to a very small window to run this event, based on all those different logistics. And the college only gives us Friday morning to set up the main floor. So when we get in there on Monday, our goal is to get the rig up on both the warm-up area and the main floor. And then on Tuesday, we set up the secondary floor. And we get as much done as we possibly can without, needing to do the main things that have to happen for the main floor. And so with the amphitheater, they gave us Thursday to set up, which wasn't terrible. I mean, for the most part, you had some backdrops, some rubber flooring, but we had to get about roughly 8,000 pounds of plates up there. On top of that, you needed to have.
Well, it's 90 degrees and humid.
You guys think we had all of our competition plates there, plus the warm-up plates behind the actual amphitheater. We have another 10. So we had 8 people going. So 16 competition barbells that were inside there, plus an additional, I think we had another 16 out back. So you have, 32 barbells, 8,000 pounds of plates. And then you have, once that's over with, we have to get it back into the college. The college closes at around 6:00. So you have an hour to get the stuff back into the college, stage that for tomorrow, the next day. Right. And it's just like, we have forklifts, we have trucks, we have all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's still like you're handling that stuff like multiple times, taking it from our sea container to the college, from the college to the amphitheater, from the amphitheater back to the college. And it's just like, as far as that stuff is concerned, when you're dealing with what Brian said, a select amount of people that can help, it gets a little bit much as far as the physicality of it, right? So we did it and it happened, and I don't think anybody would know any different. But it's just one of those things where, like, if I had it on the second floor, your weights are already there, not moving anywhere. It's obviously air conditioned, and all those good things. And
Unless it's Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. I guess we could run it. We could run it for just like last year.
No, I know. I meant that they forgot to turn the air conditioning.
Oh yeah. Poor Tony. God bless his heart. Yeah, the guy that I had this year is his first year as, like, he was an operational guy at the college, and we're like, man, it's hot. And so one of our staff members was like, man, I'm gonna go say something to Tony or whatever. He comes back over to me. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot to turn the air conditioning on. I thought maybe like they started getting cool in here. I'm like, oh, they turned the big fans on. I'm like, oh, sweet. Like, and my brother goes, no. He forgot to turn the air conditioning on. I was like,
I didn't even notice.
I don't know how you forget to turn the air conditioning on, but
I'm glad it wasn't just me that thought it was warm.
No,
we were Saturday.
We were dying, dude. That place is always super comfortable. So I thought maybe, okay, well, there's we're opening and closing the door for the run.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of people in here.
That's what I
maybe
assumed.
Maybe it's just hot. I don't know. And so then when he said that, it was just one of those things you kind of laugh about it, but you're kind of like, okay, whatever. But
I did that once at our gym. We were running and it was like late fall and it was like cold out. It was like 40 degrees outside. I was like, I'm turning off the heat so that it doesn't just keep blowing while whatever the doors are open. And I forgot to turn it back on, and whatever came back in, it was like 40 degrees in the gym for the morning class. I was like, sorry guys, I'll be in at 9.
That's hilarious.
We had a similar thing happen with our AC this week. We did a running workout, and somebody turned it off as we had the doors open.
Yeah.
And I came back at like 1 o'clock, and it was it felt like it was 85 in there. And I was like, there's no recovering from this. Everybody came in. They were like, what the hell's going on?
It takes forever to cool back down afterwards.
We goofed. We messed up.
Yeah. Well, I have air conditioning heat in my gym, but I feel like we're one of the few gyms that have that. So it's so funny how, like, your members get so used. Like, our air conditioning, I own the building I'm in too, right? So I'm like also liable for like everything else that happens there. And so our AC went out at our gym like I think 2 summers ago, and I had like a mutiny on my hand. It's so hot in here, and people were freaking out. I'm like, hey, don't worry, we're getting. I mean, we put a Honda Civic basically out back, to replace that thing. But it's just so funny how your members get so like custom like certain things that they get a little bit, like that luxury or whatever. They get so upset about the smallest things. And you go like, I go to Florida and I'll work out down there, and it's so bad out there, and they aren't even complaining about it because they're so used to it. And I'm over here dying because I'm so used to having a controlled environment at my gym. But
Do you program all the events?
I program all the events. Yes, I do.
Do you have anybody help you with that?
I have people help me test them. So I will program the events we had this year. I probably programmed a lot of those in like October, and then they got changed probably 3 or 4 times before it became what it was. I don't think I have a single workout. I only had one workout that I wrote that I kept, but we didn't do it. It was and
Why don't you do it in the future?
we could, I guess. I still don't have to say anything, but I don't have to do it. Scott
Tell
Tedlow
tell us once Ben's out of here.
All right, yeah. Scott Tedlow actually tested the workouts for me a little bit this year. He came last year, and
That's
afterwards
awesome.
he was like, "Hey man, if like you ever want anybody to test your workouts, I'd be happy to do so." And then he got a hernia, and so he couldn't test all of them, but he had he tested
Doing the
some.
workout.
Yeah.
That's how hard it was.
Yeah, it's hard. No, actually, it was, believe it or not, it was like a 9-minute workout. It was a quick one.
There's
Originally,
9
I
minutes of
had,
GHDs.
yeah. Well, honestly, like I mean, the reason why the workouts change so much is I write them, and then I'm hoping to get some help from equipment stuff. Like the workout you guys did with the handstand walk one, that was supposed to have a ramp in it, and it was supposed to be GHDs, and it was a little bit shorter. And I couldn't bring myself, like the rental fee that they wanted was so absurd that I was like, I can just buy this stuff. And so I kind
And
of
get to store it all.
but some of the stuff I don't want to own GHDs. I have some in my gym, but they take up so much space. Like, I don't want to own GHDs. I would love to just rent those. Like I don't necessarily want to have 12, handstand walk ramps. Like some of that stuff I just want to rent and give back. And so, but it was like between that, I thought, well, I'll get some extra stuff. Like we'll get some extra weights and some extra stuff for different locations to make our life a little bit easier. But then in my head, I'm like, why would I rent this stuff, give them the money, and then give it back? And so I kind of like navigated a little bit around that because, again, at the end of the day, the events it's so expensive to run the event to begin with. You have to justify like, okay, so we're spending this much money for one event to use this one thing. And so I kind of figured we could do some other things to kind of, offset it. But a lot of times I'll write the workouts with a wish list of things I would like to get. And if it works, fantastic. If it doesn't, and then I'll kind of work around it, and then we'll test it. And some things I don't like that one workout you guys did with the rec bag, a muscle up one. It was originally 70-pound dumbbells, and you were doing a suitcase lunge, and it was 100 feet every round. So you started at the go mat and went up and came back, and then it was
so even more lunging.
well, yeah, it even more grip, and it was only each round. It was only you guys did what 36 muscle. It was only 12 muscle ups around, and it was only 25 wall balls. And so I tested that workout, and it was so much lunging that I felt like that was too much lunging, and it was a lot of grip. And so then I also felt like, is 12 muscle ups enough? Like the elite guys are going to all go unbroken. Like I would like to see it be a little bit more of a stretch. And so, and I also felt like 100 feet was just too much every round. So I like that the middle one had a little bit more lunging, and the top and bottom kind of created like an entry into the actual workout and an exit to finish the workout. And I thought if anybody was kind of like neck and neck, it'd be cool to see like a lunge to finish out, in case that happened. And then we did test. I personally test all the ones I can physically test myself. And we have a couple like RX athletes that are pretty solid that we test as well. And then I obviously
So your brother?
Yeah, my brother's solid. Yeah, we all tested. Like we tested the deadlift one. We tested. I will say this, and I say this. I think I told Ben behind the scenes this, and I say this in the nicest way possible. But I programmed a lot of these workouts with guys that were supposed to come that didn't show up. And so like Ben said, this is elite competition. Like elite athletes should be able to. And our top 10 crushed all the workouts. But there's about 5 to 7 guys that didn't show up that would have made some of these second heats and girls as well a little bit more competitive. And so it was a little frustrating because I didn't get a chance to watch much of the competition, but I watched some on Sunday, and I really liked what I liked to see more of a race on those burpee box jump overs, but the women couldn't really handle the latest rope climbs very well. And I thought, it was only 5, and I'm not saying that to discourage anybody, but like I just feel like some of the athletes that backed out and we started shuffling athletes in, there's
Well,
some of the,
but it's also important, like think about the movement you said, and there are limiters as you advance up the ranks within the sport. Well, a lot of the women that are in the lower half of that field that weekend, they might have elite conditioning. Give
yeah,
them open style
correct.
workouts, burpees, box jump overs, kettlebell swings, wall balls, running, rowing, whatever. But you start getting to the wall facing strict handstand push-up, the legless rope climb, the heavy rep volume deadlifts. Like that's where you'll start to see some people really come to
Well,
like a stop in the workout where they can't flex that aerobic muscle.
that's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
I
For
also
sure.
think like, and Tim and I talked about this briefly, like after the whole thing was over, but I was like, I feel like in an elite competition, you don't write for like the middle, like the medium.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you have to write it for the people who are going to be on the podium so that the right people get on the podium. Otherwise, it's like if you don't get the right people on the podium at your competition, like you've missed the entire thing. I feel like
100%.
like that's like the
Yeah.
most important thing. So it's like, yeah, like for the people who are in like let's say the bottom heat, like that's like as an athlete, it's your job to then go back to the drawing board and be like, hey, what do I need to get better at if I want to compete with an elite field? Not like, oh man, this program had a lot of gymnastics or weightlifting or whatever. I don't know. That's my
Yeah,
opinion.
no, I
Maybe
agree.
you guys will
That's
disagree with me.
no, that mindset is actually what to me separates people who end up being good at this sport from those who could have ended up being good at this sport. Because you can come out of a weekend and blame everyone else for anything else, or you can take it on yourself. And the difference between is what I've noticed prevents people from rising or allows them to rise up to the next level.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, but
So
yeah, I mean,
I think you did the right thing, Tim. Like,
well, yeah, and I don't regret. I mean, I don't think. I think the pro. I mean, again, we tested. The one thing I pride myself in is first of all, I'm a huge sport of this. I'm a big fan of this sport. So first of all, I've been programming for my gym for almost 13 years. I programmed for myself when I was relatively competitive, and I love watching. I watch other competitions, so I'll watch and I'll observe and I'll digest all the other programming I see. I think I try to run our event more like an old school, like regional type event, where it's like kind of pure CrossFit, and I'm a big fan of that. So I mean, for me personally, I take inspiration from some of that stuff, and so then we're always constantly, like I said, reflecting on what it is, retesting, making sure the movements are correct, and making sure that there's going to be. The one thing I probably would have changed a little bit this year, kind of looking back on it now, is, and you probably could agree with this as an athlete, I probably would have reduced one of the workouts.
all right. Well, yeah, that's a real cliffhanger.
I think he's gonna say it in the time domain. 'Cause he
Yeah, I
had
think that is
those
what he was
three
going to say, because
metcons that were
Yeah.
and that was one of so he sends out a survey each year, and that was actually one of the things I put in last year, was that I hadn't worked for more than like 10 and a half minutes or something along those lines. Even though like some of the guys were like closer to like the time caps, which pushed up there. But again, it was a lot of them were on the shorter time domain last year, and this year there's a lot more that were really robust, like 17-minute time caps for multiple. So it was like there's a lot more volume of work to be done, which I think again for the top people really just it creates enough separation where it's just not like it comes down to fitness more than just like your ability to go through the speed of reps fast.
well,
Yeah.
Cam is a huge fan. He loves having every workout be 17 minutes. It makes his job super easy.
I loved it.
Set
I
the
didn't think
stage.
it didn't feel like it was like 17 minutes long on a lot of them. Like I was just saying, like the deadlift rope climb one, I thought that was my favorite workout of the whole weekend because there's just so many like variables for people to kind of make their move and to get ahead, or if they were going behind, like what they were going to do next. And but like that one didn't feel like 17 minutes, even when the heats where people got pretty close, or like the second heat leading up to the main heat, the top winner was like in that final minute, especially for the ladies. It felt like it went by a lot faster just because there's so many like moving pieces going forward. It's a different thing when it's like I've done it like competitions with like 17-minute AMRAPs, and that feels like an eternity. But when it's something task priority where it's for time and it's like they're getting closer and closer and closer, it definitely makes it feel like it goes by faster. Same thing with like the muscle up workout and the totally just drawing a blank on which
Wall
one it
ball
was.
lunge.
The wall ball lunge, and then the handstand walk that he mentioned too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cam, I wanted to ask you something. Obviously I work a lot of competitions, and emceeing, I think in general is a skill that not everyone maybe has a full comprehension of. I was particularly impressed with your ability to keep track of what all of the athletes were doing on the field of play as just one person out there. If there are any people that are like curious about emceeing or trying to improve in that skill, do you have any like strategies that you've picked up over the years that allows you to do that as well as you do?
Um, Thank you. Yeah. So for the most part, is I always try to get the top three, and if depending on, so I'll use like the deadlift workout again. Like if they're the top three, I know are on like a row and they're going to be on there for a while. I like to just drop other people's names just because everyone's favorite word is their name. They like to hear their names being called and things like that. But for being able to spot, I actually learned this from Joe, who does a lot of events in Europe and a lot of events in. He did the WFP in Indiana, where like when I'm reading off the names, I'm like watching to see who the top three is in each lane, and that way it kind of helps me like correspond with like I'm reading the names of 1 through 10, and it's like I get the lane 5, and it's like lane 5 Ben Wise, and I see that he's in the lead, so it's like keep an eye on him as I'm reading. So once I can just kind of key in on who that top three is, it's just knowing the flow of the workout and kind of where people are going to be, like where there might be a change, where they might like lose some steam if they're in the lead, and where they might like somebody else might catch up. I learned that a lot too, just from because I coach full time as well, and like I program, I do CrossFit, so it's something where like I can kind of see and like predict a little bit of like if somebody's in the lead where they might fall down, or like if they're well into the lead, I know they're going to be able
MC the
to
class.
keep going.
That would be awesome.
Sometimes I like do that in my head where I'm like watching, I'm like, where are they going to finish?
Maybe we'll get you over to my gym and we'll just have you MC for the day. Members would love it.
Yeah. Just do the 8:30 a.m. or something with all the moms and dads coming in. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just try to keep an eye on like who, like once I find that top three, it's like those are my main focus, and then when somebody else is creeping up too. And I think like Tim does a great job with this event, and a lot of events do this too, like where it's very easy to see where people are going because they're increasing like along the floor. What round they're in, like the one with the power snatcher that had to move the pylon forward every time. So that's just like a great visual for the crowd. But I also use that too because it's good to know, like just as another reference point. So just keying in on that top three.
I'm sure like program design, if it's artful in terms of like an in-person comp where you can illustrate who's in the lead, like like showcase the race, it makes the MC's job probably way easier because the crowd already kind of understands like where people are at.
Yeah, it makes it so much easier. And the big thing too is like the AFJ, they're great at like throwing up like the five fingers for 5 reps left. They do so well at that, and I tell them all the time, I'm like, that makes my job so much easier because sometimes there's like no like kind of like worse or like cringier feeling for me when like a judge doesn't put their hand up and then their person finishes and they kind of just like sit there and
like,
I look over
they're done.
and I'm like, I was like, and they're done now. And I was like, God, I wish they threw their hand up. But it's like I also feel like I should have known where they were too. But it definitely helps. Definitely helps when the AFJ throws up the 5 reps left. It makes it. Yeah.
Do you like carry around a clipboard or anything? I don't.
Yeah. I have like a clipboard just with everything. I draw down like the finishing time for each heat just so I have something to know for the next one. This person finished in 12 minutes, and then the next heat comes up. That I say that's the time to beat. I like to say when it gets really close to the time and see if anybody actually hears me and they like pick up the pace a little bit. Try to create a little race against the time. Sometimes that works. I usually do that, and then I just put I'll save the name of whoever finished in the heat prior. The way they just give them a little love and say like Ben Wise finished in 11 minutes. That's the time to beat, stuff like that.
Yeah, when I wasn't in that final heat, dang it.
You were setting those times to beat. Ben, is that something that you guys do? Like, are you aware of the MC during the competition?
And it's great because Noah the one time was like, man, you were right on my tail. I was like, dude, I actually wasn't that close to you. It was just that like Cam was making it sound closer than it was for the dramatics. But no, it's definitely like even in the final, I could like be like 5, like because I can't see when I'm in the middle of my thrusters when somebody's hand goes up. So to hear him on the mic saying like 5 reps for this person, 3 reps for that person, and then it's like where you're at, or at least have a much better feel than like you especially in a workout that's that fast, like you have a sense of where people are at, but you can't like literally look around. So it was like, especially in the final, I feel like I paid attention to that. And then also like in that event 5, that was more like progressive, like you were saying, Cam, where it kind of played out. Like different people could make their moves at different spots in the workout because it was like fairly big chunks of work. Like, 6 legless rope climbs, 30 deadlifts at a heavy weight, 60 row cows. Like those are all things that people can make a move on. So it was one of those things where you can't see other people's paces or anything like that. So it's like to have the MC like there, definitely, I think both for the crowd, but then also for the athletes, it like just makes everything a little bit more dramatic, which is like the whole point.
Yeah, that one too was like, I told Tim, he walked down the floor, and it was the deadlift one was my favorite, and but it was cool to see, like, just it was for like the women, it was a little bit more predictable. Like I knew when like Hannah Black came out, like the 205 or 215 deadlift was nothing for her. And seeing like how they handled the legless rope climbs, it was very easy to see who was going to come up. But I felt like for the men's race, it was a lot. It was a lot more challenging to see who was actually going to come out when it came to some heats, because everyone was fairly close, but it was all at different times. Like there's some people that were 2 like legless rope climbs behind, and then they would come out and bust out like 12 deadlifts in a row, and then they would just do like quick small sets, and they caught up super quick. Or I was walking behind the rowers, and the guy who gets to the rower third's pulling 1,700 and catches up to the guy who's been on the rower for like almost 40 seconds. And even the double unders too, like who could handle that volume and be able to stay on that rope for the entire time, rather than some people that had to break because their shoulders or their legs were giving out. It was a really fun one.
Do we want to walk through the events real quick, one by one? I know we already talked about some of them a little bit.
Sure. Yeah.
I'll take that as a yes. So again, we kind of alluded to this, but Tim said earlier, like day 1 was all outside. So it started with the 2.4 mile run for the elite divisions. I don't know how many people just wilted because it was hot on like lap 3, or they just went out fast, or maybe a combination of the two.
Well, I mean, I will say the men's race and the women's race was quite different on this. In the women's race, you basically had one RX woman and one elite woman that just went out and everyone let them go. In the men's field, which I think you would expect, there was a group of guys that were pushing the pace fast in that first round, and it really puts the pack in an uncomfortable position of trying to decide, do I try to keep up or do I trust my pace? And I think especially when you got a course where there's a little bit of a hill, it's kind of hot out, that if you make that wrong decision in the first round, you might not be able to recover from it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, Brian, it was on your show that you mentioned like maybe someone gave the feedback of that they didn't love running with RX as an elite individual. I'm personally so glad they were there. Like to have a mass start, in my opinion, is way more fun to have just more people on the course. Like, yeah, if you got people there, like you should know who you need to race. Like if there's somebody there and like they're not in your division, like you should know that. Like if it pertains to your race and like how you're gonna pace it, like that's part of your job as an athlete.
Yeah, I think it's cool for the RX people too, because like
they could be
I think
people.
Yeah, I think the woman who won the RX race, she was like way ahead of the ladies, and when she crossed that finish line, she felt like on top of the world. It was really cool. I think her name was like Anita or Aninda. She was way ahead of the field, and when she crossed, she was so pumped because she just like crushed literally everybody. Like she crushed all the women, and it was really fun to see that. And it's cool to give like the RX people like that opportunity to like go against them, because it is the same event, but it's obviously scored differently because they're their own division. But it was like a cool opportunity to see that as well.
That girl actually, she's competed at our event a few times, and she started years ago in a scale division with her sister, which is pretty cool. And so I actually talked to her on Sunday or Saturday maybe, and she was just saying they recently relocated to California, but she came back to do the event because she has some family in the area, and she was just kind of saying how happy she was and how excited she was to kind of progress from being a scaled team division athlete now to being an RX individual athlete this year. I don't know how she finished overall in the weekend, but it was just cool to see like her so happy and fulfilled, and obviously seeing like her progressions from going from a scaled team to a relatively competitive RX individual division.
She was fun to watch all weekend.
Yeah, she's super nice. Yeah, she's a super nice girl for sure.
I'll also say with it being that hilly, it definitely like and the pace going out hot and it being hot, it also like it really sets the tone for the weekend in terms of like just how your body's feeling. Like I know a lot of people, probably myself included, like legs are just a little thrash after, especially after like running downhill that hard. Like you run up the hill and obviously like desaturates your legs. Your legs are just like bricks after that, and like your heart rate spikes. But then you run down the hill hard, and it's just like it takes a pounding. But
yeah, that campus is pretty cool. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities for some stuff there. There's a
yeah.
They've been talking about for years putting in like a nice like a soccer type complex up above where you guys made that left to go towards the amphitheater. If you go straight, there's like the college baseball field and like kind of an older track and soccer field they use. And so it'd be interesting to see if they ever could put something in like, that could be potentially be an outdoor like event with like, some sprints or some stuff to do on the actual field. But, we went back and forth about that run because my brother kind of wanted to go around the campus, or he suggested that. And my concern was like how much stuff you have to shut down as far as like traffic and keeping people safe. And so that one, that particular course we decided to run, I felt like was probably the safest, most controlled. And I mean, there's a little bit of grade, like, there's a little bit of increase in grade as far as like the hills. We thought about maybe going backwards to make you guys run the opposite way and go up that little like switchback right there. So it would have been a little bit more hilly.
Brutal the other way.
I think it would have been too, honestly. And so I just, my concern though too is you might have gotten to that bottleneck kind of quick compared to the other way. And I was, from a safety standpoint, I wanted everybody. That's also why we obviously stagger the men and women, was to keep it safe. And also, I think, the reason why I kept the men and women, or the men together and the women together, was kind of like the suggestion of the running company. And also from a time standpoint, we kind of wanted, again, some of that stuff was done from a standpoint of like condensing time as well. But yeah, we thought about running it backwards, and I thought, man, if you take off too fast, you get that little bottleneck there. We don't want anybody to get hurt by stepping off. I remember a couple of years ago, an athlete, I think it was Logan Hewing, maybe at the Wadapalooza. They did a run off course, and he ended up breaking his ankle because he had to go off into the grass or whatever. And so just stuff like that, I just want to make sure people were safe. But it ended up being, I didn't get a chance to see it other when Brian did the actual live feed, but it ended up being a pretty cool course in the grand scheme of things, the way we were to lay it out with, the cones and the delineators and the caution tape to kind of guide everywhere where they need to be. And getting that UTV was pretty cool. My brother was able to I don't even know how he got that hookup, but he's like, I got something coming. And so they got that big side by side, and that was pretty cool to kind of guide the athletes. So it ended up being, even though it was just a run, it ended up being kind of, I guess, a cool run if you can call a run cool. So it all worked out.
I thought it was great for the fans. Like a lot of times on a run, you just see him go and you see him come back. But here you got to see him pass by every lap. You could see, you could actually see sort of that straightaway, and then you saw him go into the distance. So it was fun to get the experience, and I think motivating for the athletes to some extent, even if the whole crowd's not cheering for you, like running past people for a couple hundred meters. Also on what I thought was the most difficult part of the course, because you've come down the downhill, so you can build up some momentum. Now you have to like actually work to maintain that speed if you want to, and not just slow down on that straightaway.
That's true.
Yeah, that little section where we can watch was super cool, because you could just see, again, people turn it on as they were coming in for their final lap. Like you could see who, was going for that last time around, who was finishing and trying to run, sprint through the finish line, and everybody was cheering them on. I thought it was awesome.
All right. Event 2 was the lift, clean, hang clean, front squat, jerk. Every 2 minutes, 4 times.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a big fan. This is the first complex we've ever done at our event. I've always taken like what Ben Smith said as kind of like, true test of fitness or strength is usually just a 1 rep max, right? Like, so like do a clean and jerk or do a snatch. But I think at some point, obviously you've tested like every year I try to kind of mix and match. Like last year you guys did the max snatch into Isabel, which I thought that was actually one of my more favorite events that we've ever done. I thought it was kind of cool. I couldn't believe how many athletes told me they've never done Isabel before. So that was kind of cool.
Even this year there were athletes. There were athletes talking about how cool that event was from last year.
That one was cool. Yeah, I mean, so one of the things that I liked about it was like there was enough like for being like two barbell only events, there was, and it's even being the same movement like snatch and snatch, they're just so different that one person could do well on one and not on the other one, like myself.
Yeah, for sure. That was a cool event. But we did it the year before when we did like the touch and go ladder. Were you there for that? I can't remember.
Yep.
That was a cool event too, where we had like the men on
awesome.
the men on one side and the women on the other side, and you just kind of progressed up, and it was like 3 touch and go, and then it was like 2 touch and go. I can't remember the actual rep scheme, but then you got to get to the last. If you get through those bars, you kind of establish your 1 rep max. That was a pretty cool way to get people through and also test, basically a 1 rep max clean. But this is the first year we've ever done a complex before, and obviously there's been different variations of a clean complex. So I try to create my own variation, which I'm sure someone else has done this before, but without copying like the open one or the semifinal one, which was I believe it was what, like
3 cleans, 2 front squats,
3 cleans, 2 front squats, and a jerk. Yeah. So, but I thought this one was pretty cool. Again, I didn't get a chance to watch it in person, but I got a chance to watch it on the live stream at my gym this week where I was coaching some classes, which I thought was, kind of cool to do. So our members could see it, I could see it, and I thought it worked out really well. I think you could still kind of demonstrate. I was surprised. I thought 335 could be like the high end if anybody got it, but I was surprised how many guys were in that mid, the 3.
I think after 3 attempts, a lot of people were just cooked, to be honest.
I could see that being the case too. I guess especially with it being so hot out. So and obviously with you only have so much time in between your lift to load your barbell and stuff like that. So I don't know if everybody took the four attempts or not. I have no idea. I'm assuming not everybody did.
Actually, Hannah Black only needed 2 to win the workout.
Oh god, jeez, that's hilarious.
That was a pretty boss move.
Yeah,
I did, Tim. I wanted to ask you about this, and Ben also to get the athlete perspective. There were no tie breaks built in, and there weren't a lot of like fractional plates, so you ended up with several ties where the minimum jump separated 5 people on the leaderboard. Like Ben's is a great example. He hit 305. The 2 guys that beat him on the podium hit 310, and that was 5 spots, which was enough points that would have impacted the overall result. And there was no way for those guys at 310 or the guys at 305 or the guys at 315 to distinguish themselves from each other. Did you think about putting any kind of tie break there or trying to find fractional plates?
Yeah, I mean, so fractional plates, no, I didn't think about doing that because I guess at that point, we've never used them based on trying to make things like, our judging wise, like obviously at that point that they make sure that's the correct, fractional plates on the bar. Obviously have to, provide those for every athlete. We did have I put some tiebreakers into our system last year through the site we use for our leaderboard, and it screwed up everything. And so this year, I kind of shied away from tie breaks within the system because I didn't want to have any issues with the leaderboard. And I was hoping that the weekend would kind of shake it. I thought 6 events would hopefully shake out if there were any, a lot of ties. Mostly, I mean, I can't really see too many ties for a run. I wouldn't see too many ties, I think, for most of the workouts. Obviously, you're going to see some ties for a lift. I think probably.
But that's the question that I really want to ask, and I would also want Ben's opinion on it from the athlete perspective. Like, if you foresee a workout where there can be a lot of ties, sometimes people are okay with it, and sometimes they're like, "Well, what can we do to avoid it?"
To avoid that, I would say, I guess you could add fractional plates. I don't know that I've seen. I mean, I'm assuming not that we have to mimic with the CrossFit game. I'm assuming most competitions offer fractional plates for lifts. I don't know if that's really a thing or not.
It varies, and there's other ways to do it, right?
Yeah.
You could say like if you have the same weight lifted, whoever lifted it in the earlier round would be the first tie break.
Gotcha.
And a timestamp of when you completed it within the same interval would be a second tie break. You could potentially do that. It puts a little bit more pressure on the judge to make sure that they're marking those things.
Or maybe if you hit it, you can hit it early on. Say you hit it in your second attempt, maybe you get credit for it versus someone who hits it in their last attempt or something like that.
Yeah, the one thing that I'd never like doing is having the tie break be your result on another workout.
That can be
I've
tough.
seen that play out poorly a number of times.
Yeah, it puts an emphasis on that. But Ben, from an athlete's perspective, do you give much thought to like those types of situations?
So when I have my athlete hat on, which is like the entire weekend when I'm competing, obviously, I figure out what I need to do and I do it the best I can. So in this case, it was like, there's no tie break. Okay, you're going to lift the heaviest weight you can. And that's it, right? Whereas like if it was tie break and it was maybe encouraged you to be like strategic in some way, that might obviously change how you attack a workout. So for example, if it was, if you hit it in your earlier attempt, that's your one tie break, maybe it would change something. If it was fractional plates, I probably would have used them. But in terms of like, again, for me as an athlete, I do the very best I can not to think about like, oh, well, if it was rope climbs instead of legless rope climbs, or if it was 6 instead of 5 or whatever, it's like, either way, I got to go out and do the complex. So let's do it the best I can. So and also like as a coach, I recommend that to my athletes. It's like, it's not your job to do analysis of what's going on. It's your job to execute the best you can.
I think that's exactly where the athlete's mind should be. At that point, even if you are a programmer or you run competitions or whatever, you're not in that role. You have to. These are the variables. How can I maximize them based on my skill sets this weekend?
Yeah, and it's also easy to do like what ifs back across a weekend, and it's like, again, I try not to do that.
I think going back to what Brian said earlier about the perspective for athletes too, I think just from all the competitions, including this one, especially this one, that perspective of like just thinking of like what can you do and what is it that like you can do your best at, it puts so many more athletes like well ahead in the field rather than those that like think about the outside factors. Like it goes back to like, I think of like the old Rich Froning documentary where he's like, it's just me in my lane. And like, my only job is to be faster than the people to my right and to my left and just to do the best that I can do. And you see like that perspective in that type of athlete always excelling more in any type of event. Because it's that focus of just narrowing your focus and simplifying it to like exactly what you just said about doing the best you can for your ability, not all these outside factors that can play into it, or thinking about like the other possibilities, or like, oh, well, if it was this instead of that, like, of course it was like, if it was your favorite movement instead of your least favorite movement, you probably would have did better, but it's not always the case. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, you definitely don't hear like, when they do like games interviews and things, you don't hear people like using that kind of language, but like you hear it a lot in the back at different competitions where it's like, oh, gripes about this or that or whatever. And it's like, bro, that's not helping you go out and perform in 21:59 any faster for the next event, because that's the only thing that really matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite question is if they say like, oh, well, like at least I think the rope climbs, the goal is 5 instead of 6. It's like, well, how often do you work on them? And it's like, well, and it's like, there you go. Like you would notice a massive difference by like 1 rep, but just a thing that I see happen sometimes.
Yeah. All right, let's go on to event 3. This was the rec bag lunge with a 150 for males, 100, I believe, for females. Ring muscle ups for guys. It was 18 per round, 50 wall ball per round. It was one of the things that I noticed across the weekend is that there was a lot of like traditional formats, let's call them, like not classic rep schemes, not like 5 rounds for time, where just looking at it on paper, it might seem a little bit more confusing, I would say. And then like, I guess my argument against that would be like a lot of them played out pretty nicely when they're actually on the floor. I don't know if you have like any comments on that, Tim.
Yeah, I think the one thing that like I try to do when I also program workouts is also like the flow and how it looks and how it's perceived like by the spectators and obviously camera, for example, calling the event. If Brian's going to be live feeding the event, like some of that is the flow of it itself. And so like I said, that workout, like the mindset was like you have the rec bag as a buy-in to start your muscle ups, and then obviously you go from the wall balls. Which, I mean, for me personally, going from that dip on the ring muscle ups into the first couple of wall balls, I felt that in my shoulders, kind of a little bit of like interference there. And then going from your last set of wall balls into that lunge for 100 feet, again, you kind of, it's a little bit of like that interference with the lunge, which you have a big chunk there in the middle for the 100 feet. And then obviously coming back, you're pretty much doing the workout like first, second rounds, like doing 2 rounds of the workout or whatever. And again, we kind of talked about it earlier. Like I tested it with lower numbers, with more lunging, and I felt like the lunging was kind of the main priority of the workout. And I kind of went back and forth. Again, I'm not an elite athlete anymore, so anything I can do, I assume I'm coming in last place if I'm competing with anybody else. And so, like, if I can do this biggest set of muscle ups, then the elites are probably going to probably close, if not unbroken, for these reps. So I kind of wanted to see more, like that second round. I think is a separator, right? Not the first round. The first round is probably like if you're pacing it, you're trying to, maybe like I know with you, you're a little bit more methodical when you do stuff. So like, maybe some people are aggressive with the big set where maybe you're going to go smaller to save yourself. But the second round was really where the workout was going to be made as far as if you're going to want to lose it. And so, especially after that big 100-foot lunge in the middle. And so just in testing, for me, it was more of telling a story than it was like, okay, your traditional 21-15-9 or 5 rounds per time. For me, it was like the flow of I kind of, again, as I'm writing these workouts, I want to see if we're going to have a 60-foot depth floor by 88 feet, I want to use it. I don't want to have a bunched up workout where it's just by the rig. I want to get to where the fans are. I want to see things move around a little bit. And so for me, like I said, originally the workout was just 3 rounds for time, and it was a 100-foot lunge, 12 ring muscle ups, 25 wall balls. That was the workout. And then I was like, this is to me, it seemed a little bit plain. How do I break it up a little bit? How do I add a little more volume in there so that, again, if you're someone that is better at gymnastics, maybe you're forced to break up a little bit. So then a person who's not as great, that's hitting smaller sets, it might equal out itself in the end. And so it's kind of like, again, the evolution of where the workout started to where it was. Again, it was dumbbell lunges, then it became a rec bag. It was, 3 rounds, and it became kind of a longer, not longer, but became more of like a storytelling of using the entire floor, going back and forth. And so, again, that's kind of where my mindset was when I was, writing it, rewriting it, and testing it, for what it finally, what it became, obviously.
Yeah.
Ben,
Go for it, Brian.
I noticed a little smile on your face there when he was talking about different strategies. And on the live stream, I specifically was trying to highlight that you seem to have a small set, small break strategy on the first round of this one. Can you kind of talk us through what you were thinking there?
Yeah, both rounds of my wall balls were 8 and then all 7s.
Yeah. That's wild because I was also saying, like, at the top level, but even when you're tired, like you could do 50 wall balls in a row, but only person who did that, male or female, was Noah.
Yeah, and obviously he smashed that workout, which is like great if you can have like a swing hard and get a big hit, but yeah.
But it's not the only way to do it. You picked off a lot of people with the small sets.
Right. And this is definitely a back half workout. So, I mean, I would have to imagine that as Cam, you were calling this, like a lot of people who led through the first set of wall balls just really tailed off by the second set.
Yeah, I think that, and then seeing how like they approached the first set of muscle ups, like there were a few guys that I saw took like a really big set on the first set of muscle ups. They did like I saw someone do like 14 and 4, and the wall balls, they had to take much bigger breaks on the first set of 50, and I kind of knew, and I was like, this is gonna be hard for him to hold on to, and just watching him try to and there's a few people like watching him try to get the rec bag up and failing to do that, which I was surprised that some people had a really hard time of just getting the rec bag into place.
Yeah.
And it was a back half workout. Like you could see like the kind of veteran strategy with people who broke up things early and kind of were a little bit more calm. I mean, I think Noah's an outlier. He did both sets of 50 unbroken, and granted, he could probably dunk the ball if he wanted to because he was that tall. But even with the muscle ups too, being a bigger guy like that, he did like 10-4-4 on that back half, but it was the same like composure. So I feel like even with you doing the small sets, like it was the back half, at least it was a back half workout. That was all.
Actually,
that was,
I heard you, Cam, in that event say that Ben has a reputation for being a little bit sneaky and picking off people late in workouts.
Oh, absolutely. And it's true. Like I've seen it happen 3 years in a row now, where I knew it was coming. And I remember watching that heat. I was like, it's going to happen. I was like, I knew he's going to catch up and get up to him. And that was cool to see.
Yeah.
That's a veteran move in him.
Yeah, it's funny. And now I'm like a decade older than some of the people I'm competing against. Yeah, I really like having at least a workout or two and across a weekend similar to this, where it is pretty grindy, and it's like more about your rest breaks than it is what working sets you do. Big fan. Cool. Let's move on to event 4. 30 cal echo, 100-foot handstand walk, and then it was 4 rounds of toe to bar, wall facing handstand push up, power snatch at a light weight, back through handstand walk and echo.
Yeah, so that workout originally I had was going to be, if I can remember correctly, I believe it was going to be toe to bar with a handstand ramp walk into some 70-pound dumbbell clean and jerks. And then I forget how I had.
I think there's definitely some athletes that are happy the 70-pound dumbbells didn't show up.
Yeah, I was going to utilize the dumbbells a little bit more this go around, and
hint for next year.
yeah. And so, and then I changed it, and it had the bike kind of consistently in it. And then I thought, how cool would it be to see people finish on the bike to have to cross the finish line. And so for me, like I felt like it was, again, just from a storytelling standpoint, it was you hit that bike. And again, I test all these workouts. Like, I mean, obviously I tested a few different ways. We did the 30 cal bike, and then it was actually, I know what it was. It was 30 cal bike into the toe to bar, into the handstand ramp, into the dumbbell snatch, and then you had to come back down the ramp. And then again, we didn't get that ramp or whatever. But so then for me, I thought it'd be cool to kind of again go from that bike as the buy-in, because again, I tested it. I came out way too fast on the bike to begin with, which was not a good idea, because my brother's so big that he's so mass moves mass. So I was trying to keep up with him on the bike, and it was not a good idea. And so then coming off that, I thought it'd be cool again to kind of utilize the 4 with that handstand walk up and back to kind of buy into the 4 rounds, which I thought the toe to bar would be easier, but it kind of got hard, actually. The toe to bar kind of got hard. I thought the power snatch would be harder than it was. I thought the snatch was easier than the toe to bar personally. I don't know how you did it, but I did 4s. I just did 4-4 on my snatches. It was not, what was the rep scheme? Was it 12? Was it 9 or was it 12? I just did 4s. I went 4-4-4 on my snatches.
I was shocked how many guys did singles.
Did singles, yeah. But I thought the snatches would be harder than the toe to bar, and the toe to bar actually got a little bit tougher for me personally. I was surprised by that. I'm decent with toe to bar for the most part, but yeah. So I mean, I thought obviously getting through your 4 rounds, it was a cool way to cash out and kind of get back to that bike, and then kind of if you could burn it down, being the last workout of the day, I kind of wanted that to be a little bit longer, because even though the caps are a little bit longer, like you got to take into account who the fastest times are going to be. So like, for example, like if it's a 17-minute cap, if someone finishes in 12 minutes, it's a relatively fast workout for that individual. So like, I know it's I wanted some of the workouts, like I wanted we'll get to it in a minute, but the deadlift workout we did, I wanted most people to flirt with the cap with that one, because I knew most of the other workouts, if I was a certain time, you guys would be so much faster that cap was kind of generous more towards the back end athlete than it was the overall necessity of the workout, if that makes sense. And so
I also say that I agree with that in the fact that it's where it's placed on day 3. So if it's if somebody gets capped and doesn't do 15 burpee box jump overs at the end versus the people who finish, it's that doesn't really set them up for much differently for the rest of the weekend, where it's if it's event 1 and they get, they leave a third of the work on the table and they get capped, it kind of makes a difference in terms of how people are feeling on day 3.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that was, again, that workout in particular had multiple different evolutions before it became what it was. And so, it's always interesting. For me, it's always cool, because I do the workouts. I know, again, I'm not the greatest. So when I watch you guys do it, I'm just like, man, it's crazy how fit these guys are. It's just nuts. To see, especially I was talking to some of my gym about it, and I don't mean this in a way that might be sounding, whatever, but it's you watch the first group and it's watching a high school quarterback, the first heat try to throw the football 50 yards, and they can kind of get it there. Then the second group is a really good JUCO quarterback and throws it pretty far. Then you bring in the next heat, it's the best college quarterbacks all throwing the ball 80 yards. You know what I mean? You progressively see even though all those guys, all whatever guys that compete this weekend, 24, 25, whatever it was, are all super fit guys. It's just crazy. Even the CrossFit games, I've been to the games, I've watched the games in person. It's just crazy what the difference is as the heats start to progress, how fit those guys get and how fit those guys are, I should say, and the difference and like just the way you guys just crush workouts. And it was just like, I just couldn't believe how you guys attacked some of those workouts and how, how well you handled them.
And
It was very impressive.
it's always like this though. I mean, even Will Morad, who I'm working with for WFP, like he programs these workouts. He comes on the preview shows. We just had the qualifier pass, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm expecting the best times to be around 15 minutes." And then after the fact, you're looking like there were 10 guys faster than what Will thought would be the winning
It's
time. And
crazy.
Will, honestly, might is still one of the
Still
50
be,
fittest on earth, probably.
yeah, it's
And
crazy.
and it's just like it's the level is always rising.
It's nuts. It's nuts. But yeah,
I think too with that, where like we watch like from heat to heat progress with like each athletes and seeing like the top times in the top heat. Like there was a couple in the second heat too, especially on that last day that like snuck into that top 10 time, and that was really cool to see because you can see they were like wheelhouse workouts. There's one girl who finished the deadlift one with a little bit more time to spare, and the times are slightly closer. In the next heat, shoot, they're only out by like 40 seconds or so. So kind of like was cool to see somebody in the second heat like still get in there, being like last day, best day, and just like start the day off with a bang.
yeah,
It was
that's
really
awesome.
fun to see that
That was cool.
happen.
Yeah, no, that was cool. That was cool for sure.
I was talking with another coach in our company, and I was like, I'm really glad the events where they were the order that they were, because if they were flipped, it would have looked like I choked rather than mounted a comeback, because it would have been the same place in either way. So it made me look better, Tim, that I was coming back and not that I choked.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
the order of events is such an interesting thing though, because it may not have gone that way. If you lift on day one, that might be advantageous for the younger guys. If you lift on day three, it might be advantageous for the guys who have
Yeah.
more competition experience and know how to manage the volume over the weekend. Like you might hit the same thing, but those guys that hit 310 may only hit 305 on the third day
It
of
also alters
competition.
motivation for people too. Like, yeah, you might still be like excited if you have a big lift in your pocket, but like if you're kind of like out of it and you thought you might be in it or whatever, then it's like it just changes the dynamics of everything, right? Like if it was
Yeah.
event 5 for the lift, it would definitely change like the strategy. Like people would know where everybody's at, so then it would be a little bit more like gaming of things, which would just be interesting. Not that I'm opposed to having it towards the front half of the workout or the weekend, but
Did you like getting done early this year, like on the days? How did that feel as far as not being there all day? Was that something you got? I tried my best to make sure you guys could go home and rest a little bit and recover. Did you like that, or did you prefer being a little bit longer? Like, what was your
I
thoughts
always
on
like having
being done
him
around
be a little bit more condensed. Yeah. The less time I have to spend at a venue. I mean, I had some people competing, so I was hanging around a bit. But the more that events are condensed within reason, where it's not like, a 60-minute turnaround or something, unless that's intentional. I'm a big fan of that, because then it's like, let's get the work in, and then I can go get out of the noise, and chill
recover
out.
and
Yeah.
stuff? Yeah, I was curious about that. Yeah, my goal was to have you guys do 3 events on Saturday. Obviously, you would have had probably 2 shorter events instead of having one longer one. But then I was running all the numbers and stuff like that, and I was like, is it really necessary to have 3 events for you guys? I mean, obviously you have one more scored event, which would be nice, but sometimes obviously less can be, less is more sometimes or whatever. But yeah, so that one, I mean, there was only, I haven't told you, there's one workout that I programmed that I did not change, that we didn't do, that I took it out. It would have been your event. It would have been event 4 for you guys, but then it got you out of the earlier that day, and obviously it took away one extra, intense workout you had to get through for your bodies and stuff like that. So,
Do you want to say what the event was?
I mean, I don't mind. Well, so again, the workout you did with the 4 rounds of toe to bar and the wall facing handstand push-ups, like what I basically did is, again, the original event had toe to bar, handstand walk, and it had dumbbell clean and jerks. And the workout I had was a take on Amanda 45, and it was wall facing handstand push-ups and squat snatches at 135. And it was the same rep scheme of 13, 11, 9, whatever it was, 6, 3. So it was, but it would have been a quick workout, but it would have been, again, it would have been wall facing handstand push-ups and squat snatches at 135. And so I condensed that workout and made it wall facing handstand push-ups you saw in the 4-rounder, and we made it a lighter snatch to give you guys an extra barbell movement in there. So that was one of the workouts I had load tests for me and stuff, and it had kind of the right time I needed. Yeah, when I sent him all the workouts this year, he's like, "Damn it, I would have done really well this year if I had come back." That's the first thing he said. Like, I would have done really well in all these workouts. Now, some of the workouts that I sent him, we did change over the course of just testing ourselves, but they were all relatively close. But yeah, the first thing he says, "Man, I would have done really well this year had I come," for the most part. But yeah, that would have been one of the events that we would have kind of sandwiched in there. And I kind of thought to myself, is it really worth it? I mean, can we figure out a way to still kind of test those things and still get the right outcome? And so, and I also think it would have been maybe too much on your guys' bodies to do that many workouts in one day. And then, after, day one, and obviously coming in and having, the 2 events on Sunday. So, I think last year you guys had 7 scored events with that Isabel being thrown in there. Even though it was only, was it 7? No, you had 3, you had 4, you had 6 last year. 6, was it 7 scored events last year? Was it?
I believe so. Yeah.
I thought you had 3 events. 1, yeah, because you're right, because it was event 1 was the, what did we do for event 1 last year? I can't remember. Was that the one with the interval one with the rowing one? Pretty sure that's what it was for event.
No, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah,
that was 2 years ago. I can't.
With the
row,
strict handstand push-ups.
Strict handstand push-up bar muscle up was 2 years ago.
Was it 2 years ago? I can't remember.
Was ring muscle up, pirouette, cow row.
Oh,
pirouette.
Yeah, that was a cool one. Yeah, that was event 1. Yeah. Event 2 was
and then it was snatch into Isabel.
Snatch, Isabel. And then event 3 was, I can't remember all the workouts. It's crazy.
Pull up, chest to bar muscle up into moderate thruster into max burpee box jump over intervals.
Yeah. That's when Scott Hello did like 90 burpee box jump overs.
That workout was awful.
I can't remember a lot of the workouts I programmed. There's one workout we did the first year at the college that we ever did, and actually Gary Helmick, who's a CrossFit Games athlete, previous athlete, he actually won that year, first individual year we ever had. And the final event was pretty cool. I would love to program some of this again, but it was a knockout style workout. And you did, I think it was like 15 chest to bar pull-ups into like 12 thrusters, and you had to overhead lunge your bar to the finish. And then every round someone got knocked out until there was just two people left.
They do that. This is a very classic final workout style in South America, actually.
Was that the one with,
I love that.
They do that workout with the thruster one? You're saying that there's the style of it.
The style of workout, not the specific workout.
It was so funny though, because this one particular, the guy like tore his hands. He's like, "I'm done. I'm not doing this annoymore." So the guy won because he didn't want to keep it going.
Oh my gosh!
But yeah, he tore his hands. He's like, "I'm good. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm done." But that was
awesome.
I thought that was one of the workouts that I can think of over the last 6 years we've been at the college that I thought was kind of a cool idea. Where like, and I had an idea this year for a knockout style workout where it was like go from the rings to the bar muscle up, and then you had to lunge something down to the finish, or something like that, or something to the finish, and then we would reset and reseed. But the problem with that is like there's just so many moving pieces. There's time to get scoring in. There's a lot of stuff going on. I'm like, and at the end of the day, it makes it harder for the judges, harder for the staff, and it's easier opportunity to mess it up. But I had an idea for that this year. We just didn't do it. I kind of got a little bit more like realistic about it. So, but yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, I got off topic there a little bit. But yeah, so that was the workout I thought about having in for that event. It just, again, timing wise for the entire event that day, it just didn't work out. I'm not a big fan of making everybody be at the venue for till 9, 10 o'clock at night. So even getting done at 6 o'clock or whatever it was on Saturday to me was or 6:30 was too late. I mean, it's a long day for some people. And so I try to be mindful that when I program the event is like, I don't want to overwork anybody, staff included, as well as the athletes. So.
All right. Final day.
Yeah.
120 double under 6 legless.
Yeah.
Was it 5 for ladies?
Yes. 5 for ladies.
30 deadlifts, 315, I think 205, 6 rope climbs, 120 double under, 60 cow row, 30 burpee box movers.
Yeah. So we
Cam said he liked so much.
So the mindset behind it was I wanted the double unders to get your heart rate up for the leg lift, and then I want the leg lift to affect your grip for the deadlift. And then obviously from the deadlift, I wanted you guys to go back to the rope climbs and have it be an easier version of the leg lift to kind of offset the two, kind of to complement, I think 6 rope climbs is not really a lot of rope climbs in a workout. So it's kind of like, I think if it had been leg lifts again, it would have been overkill. And then the idea of the double unders was to get your heart rate up to go back into the row, which already wasn't a kind of keep your heart rate kind of spiked. And so we tested that workout. It was less numbers. It was like, I want to say it was 25 deadlifts, it was 50 cal row, and maybe 25 very box jump overs. And when we did it, we were able to. I wanted the cap to stay 15 minutes, but we were pretty. The guy that I had tested, he came in third place in the RX men's division this year. He's pretty fit. It's one of my coaches at my gym. He crushed it. Not crushed it, but he did pretty well. And I was like, I would like to see the cap get pushed a little bit here. So we added the 5 deadlifts. We added the 10 calories and the 5 burpee box jump overs. So I wanted to see a little bit of like a push to that cap, since I knew a lot of the other ones would probably finish relatively close under it. Watching the events, I would have liked to have seen. Am I still here? Hold on a second.
Yeah, you're good.
I would have liked to have seen maybe a little bit more of a race on the burpee box jump overs for the women. I felt the men, like Cam said, the men handled that workout a lot better probably than the women did.
Yeah.
And so you didn't see the dramatics that I thought the burpee box jump overs provide, like going from like 15, taking your box up to 30. The men's did that, which was cool. Like I was sitting on that stage where like we had like the scores table, and it was just so cool to see like it go from like back and forth, and then move up and get that row, from that row to that burpee box jump over, to see kind of like that progression. And I actually I have extra flip cards, and we're going to put them out there for the judges to flip over for the row to indicate where they were on the calories. And I kind of consulted my brother about that, and he kind of was like, that's one more thing the judge has to focus on, and blah, 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 and some more stuff on the floor. So we didn't do it, but because I know sometimes when you have someone on a rower for that long, it's nice to keep the crowd involved, and also let Cam or our MC or whoever know where the athletes are at. So and also if athletes have coaches on the floor, they might be able to also say, hey, this athlete's only 5 calories ahead of you, to kind of create a little bit more like of that, sportsmanship or whatever. But yeah, I thought that workout was my classic chipper. I always try to like, again, I'm a real big fan of, I like to see like athletes' fitness be the reason why they win or lose versus throwing a lot of like weird roadblocks or things in the way. Probably more of a classic program when it comes to that kind of stuff for CrossFit. But that to me was like that was our chipper, right? You had the first workout was a run, monostructural with the run. You had your lift, then you had 4 rounds for the workout with the toe to bar. This is your classic chipper, where and then obviously it was 30 deadlifts, and that was, I don't know if you saw the workout for the games they just posted, but I think it was like 5 rounds at 350, and it was like, I want to say it was like how many deadlifts? I don't know how many deadlifts it was. I can't remember how it was, but it ended up being a lot. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I don't feel quite as bad about making our guys do 30.
It was like 60 total.
Yeah, it was a lot, and I was like, damn,
12 a round, I think.
Yeah, and I thought I felt bad about making you guys do 30, but yeah, just to me that was like your classic chipper that I was trying to kind of incorporate there to give to kind of create balance within, hopefully create balance within the programming.
Brian, do you have I'm sure you do. What's your opinion on like scaling gymnastics for women in terms of like reps?
Situational. I mean, and also it depends on, what you're hoping to get out of the workout. Like if you want to have a compelling race versus you want to be testing muscular fatigue and endurance. There's a lot of variables also with just the overall flow of a day. How much time do you have? Sometimes people are like, they're at the limits of the time that they can use their facility during a day, and so they have to consider that. But I think that in general, what I want to see is whatever you're choosing to program, I don't just want the whole field to be stuck there doing nothing. So if in any division it gets to the point, it's one thing like you talked about where maybe the top half of the field can do something and it tapers off from there, and the bottom, 5 to 20% of a field can't do it, great. But if you program something for a division and over 75% of the athletes just can't even do the thing or get to a point of failure where they're just standing around for 5-10 minutes at the end of a workout because they can't do it, then I think that you've missed the point of competition, because people, they want to be challenged, but they also want to like finish workouts, feel like they've achieved something. And if the whole division is feeling a sense of failure or incompleteness, then I think it's usually a mess.
Does that also apply to the games?
Games might be a little bit different, and like even in the context of what you guys were talking about, this is Tim's programming for an elite field, but now we're talking about like the pinnacle of the sport, like
Yeah.
the top 30 male and female athletes. Well, 30 of the top male and female athletes from around the world that are coming to vie for the title of fittest on earth. You at this point, I think you do want to have a couple workouts during the point of the competition where a majority of the field does hit failure. They're also testing presumably 10 workouts over 3 days as opposed to six. So there's a little bit more room for pushing the limits on some of that stuff. So it's still not great like in the output of storytelling because it gets, it's tough for the MCs or the commentators or whatever. But
Yeah.
Fans.
I think it's more necessary in that setting than it is almost anywhere else.
Yeah, this was definitely one where I think like it played out kind of nicely for the reasons Cam was saying. Like there's enough work at each one, and they're different skill sets based on different athletes. Like chances are a athlete who's good at double unders might not be great at heavy deadlifts or isn't great at rowing or whatever. So there was like a lot more of like flip flop in, let's call it like places like 3 through 8 in like that final heat.
Yeah.
Based on what movement was coming up, and that really kind of it gets the crowd involved a little bit more, in my opinion.
For sure.
Yeah, at first when I saw that, I thought it was going to be like, okay, get through the legless row climbs and the deadlifts, and you'll sort of have your finishing order from that point on, because everything else was not as challenging as those two things would presumably be. But that wasn't the case. There were still people that could do 6 rope climbs 30 seconds faster than one of their competitors, or do the calories on the row 30 seconds faster than their competitors, or push the burpee box jumps. I mean, Carolyn Spencer ended up basically winning the competition because of her pace on the burpee box jumps. She reeled someone in, got a rep that mattered, got her level on points with Hannah Black. Because I think Hannah would have taken second on that final workout if it meant anything at that point. And if that was the case, then it would have gone to a 5th tiebreaker. But Caroline pushed burpee box jump overs, got the points that she needed, and set herself up for the win.
Yeah, it was also like interesting where like in my mind, like one separator would have been like obviously like legless rope climbs, but I think especially for women, I think for a lot of the guys it was like how much did the deadlifts fatigue you for what ended up being like did you trip on the double unders, and then like how fast can you row?
The compounding effect of the deadlifts into the row is probably something that I didn't really talk too much about, but I mean, it's just crushing the posterior. So,
yeah. Yeah, for me as an athlete, I look at that and I was like, you can make up some time if you, sprint the burpee box jump overs, but for me it was like kind of sell your soul in the rower, and then like you've got one gear left for your burpee box jump overs, and that's just how you finish out the workout. It was like if I would have tried to like jump off the box on those, I probably would have just I almost did trip on one, so I was riding the line pretty closely. But yeah, it was cool. Sweet. Final event. 15 bar muscle up, 21 thruster, 95-65, 30 chest to bar, 21 thruster again, 15 bar muscle up, 21 thruster. My brain likes looking at this one.
I mean, this is like, to me, it's a fresh twist on a classic combination. It's a volume that's appropriate for the athletes that you're testing, and it allows, probably this is what I really like this. Like, if you just study like the history of this sport, 4 to 6 minute time domain and moderately high skill gymnastics and barbell cycling, the fittest on earth are the best at that stuff. Period. Like they always are. And you saw the men and women who won the competition, won the final event. All the athletes that were in the podium hunt or top 5 hunt were filtering towards the top. But because of the way that the competition was structured, there were still meaningful points races that happened to make sure you get the spots on the podium or not. So I thought it was a really nice final.
What I appreciated about this was like it is in that kind of middle time domain, let's call it middle to shorter, and it's like, but it's not in a way that kind of encourages people to like ride the line standard wise. Like if it was Fran, right, people are just gonna try to see what they can get away with their judge. Whereas with this one, it really came down to like, can you hold bigger sets? can you execute on like those last couple more muscle ups, last couple thrusters as like the fatigue really starts to climb, and then that also plays into like some dramatics as it plays out on the floor because athletes are getting to the point of failure, and that like at least on the guy side, like there's I believe Noah failed his last muscle up because he was like, I heard Cam like announce it. He's like, like 5 reps left. I was like, well, he's gone. And then I was like, I had to break on my last 2. I was like, man, they might get away from me. And then like apparently a bunch of guys were just like starting to fall apart in those last couple muscle ups because it really, I was still in the hunt and I didn't think I was going to be based on how it was playing out.
Well, and the last couple of thrusters. I mean,
yes, yeah.
Josh made that as dramatic as anyone possibly could, but but you talk about riding the line, like he pushed himself right to the limit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was he went to like another world in that workout. He was doing really well. And those last couple of thrusters, even at 95 pounds, it's like a weight you don't think that you potentially can't, like you could fail at.
You know what it is? It's exactly what happened to Laura Horvath on Event 1 at World Fitness Project. Nobody would ever think she'd miss a 115 power snatch. It's impossible. No, it's not. If you're right at the limit, anything can happen. The body can break down.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, that was a really exciting way to end the weekend. And even with like the tie for Spencer and Black, just watching how everybody came out for that one, because it was just so there. I mean, not that there's so many variables, but there was like, how did you handle that middle ground? How did you handle that chest to bar and that second set of thrusters? And then just seeing people really pick it up on those final 2 movements to get to the finish line was super exciting to see. And it's like, thrusters are something that's classic. We've been doing them since the dawn of the sport. So you can tell which athletes can just like which ones, like who can hurt more when doing them, being able to hang on. And it's always a fun, like to call that as an MC.
And you look, they both the winners again. They did the thrusters unbroken. They looked the best doing them relative to the field. If you want to be great at this sport competitively, you should be getting great at thrusters. It's going to transfer over to so many things. That's how I know I don't want to be great at the sport competitively, because I've chosen not to do that for 13 consecutive years.
I think when I wrote that workout originally, it wasn't going to end with the thrusters. I think it was going to end with the bar muscle ups. And so then when I tested it, I was like, it needs to end on the thruster. So there's a little bit of like that would create the competition at the end of the event. I think if I had set it so that if I had written it to finish on the bar muscle ups, I would have, even though there was some dramatics on the bar, I think I would have missed out on what could have been, again, a really exciting race to finish. I think ending on the bar was what we needed to do. And I was glad I went back and retested it and added that in there. And, even like the 30 chest to bar in the middle, it seems such a small number for like the athletes. But when I don't know how you did yours, Ben, but when I tested it, I'm pretty decent at chest to bar pull-ups. I was surprised how hard they were after doing the 15 and 21. It actually made it.
15 and 21. I mean, if you want to actually get the expression of this workout, you have to consider the 6 legless, 6 regular rope climbs in the morning, the 60-calorie row, the muscle ups the day before. Like that, doing it at the end of the workout, that 30 chest bar pull-ups is not just like, oh, I'm doing my fresh set of 30.
Yeah, it's nothing to kind of shy off or kind of like just like, just dismiss or whatever. But that was one of the few workouts I was able to sit back and watch the whole weekend, and it was really cool to kind of watch it come down to it. I think last year the workout we had with the 275 clean and jerk, the 6 at the end, like that workout was really, again, same scenario. We had so much dramatics to see who could finish that barbell to kind of finish out the weekend. So I really feel the last 2 years, the last 2 workouts have been like, again, fireworks as far as how the competitions ended for us, for the athletes. And so, I definitely think that, like you said, that was a really cool way to end the weekend. I think those fast finishes are also nice too, because it keeps everybody involved the entire time. Sometimes you have a 15, 16, 17-minute workout, like you're involved, but like it's hard to have those emotions for that long. But when you have a 6-minute workout, everybody can be invested for 6 minutes and kind of had that adrenaline rush, for the finish. And I thought the energy was really, really high, to finish the weekend, for the elite. So that was cool, man. I'm not gonna lie, I have not thought about this. Is the first time I'm even thinking about the weekend. I've been so busy with tearing down. I legitimately haven't even thought about the event for a second. I really haven't. I haven't thought about how it went. I haven't thought about next year. I haven't thought about anything. I haven't even had a chance to even digest it. So like this moment right now talking with you guys is the first time I'm really thinking about
He doesn't
everything.
even
And
think
so,
about eating. Someone just puts food in front of him, he eats
dude,
it.
I've lost like every year. It's the worst part about MetCon Rush. I always am like coming off the open and stuff. I feel so fit. I feel so good. I'm testing all these workouts. I feel so fit. And then for 3 consecutive weeks, I don't eat, I don't sleep, I don't recover, and I end up like losing like 5 or 6 pounds. And then and then I try to regain all my fitness after this thing's over with. But
You should just do a big exhale, take a nice selfie in the
yeah.
mirror when your abs are at their leanest, and then
Oh, dude, for sure. I'm gonna get the coldest, tallest glass of whiskey I can possibly find this weekend in my house and just down it. I cannot wait to. I am so glad it's the weekend. Yeah, I'm sorry. Honestly, we put that last little bit of stuff in the sea container. I closed them all up, and I was just like, oh, I can
you
finally
can
take a
breathe.
deep breath. I can breathe. Like I just, I don't coach tonight. I mean, I'm actually lying. I'm not even sure if I'm gonna go back. I was gonna go back to the gym and work out here, but we're getting a little bit late here. I'm not even sure if I'm gonna go back into the gym and work out. I might just call it a day, but just I coached in the morning anyway. But
Sounds like that whiskey is calling.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife will come home. I'm passed out in the house by myself. She'll be happy about that. She has to watch the kids. She'll be pumped about that. Um, but no, yeah, it was cool reflecting on this. If I'm being honest, I think, like I said, I really hadn't had a chance to really even think about it until now. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, I'll say from my point of view, like I appreciate you three guys a lot, like for all you did for the weekend to make things like enjoyable from an athlete perspective, but also like, for my wife and kids there, the people back home who were watching, like it made it where they can actually follow along and yeah, have it be play out the best it can. So you guys put a lot into it. So appreciate it.
Yeah. No, you guys are awesome. Cam, you're always awesome to work with, dude. Like
Thanks.
my family loves you. My wife loves you. The kids love you. I mean, I'm real big on, working with the same crew. I feel bad sometimes because I have a lot of people that reach out that want to be a part of the event. And there's obviously only so many roles that we can divvy out. And I personally, that's like Cam said to me, Tim, I can't come next year. Like he's going to be the MC again next year. I mean, it's just his spot now. I mean, I'm big on loyalty. I'm big on having the same people because then the way we run the event is a lot more seamless. Like Cam knows what he's getting into when he comes in next year. I know what I'm getting out of Cam. He knows the flow. He knows what we're going to do. There's going to be no surprises. We all talk pretty much year round through message and stuff like that. So obviously with him, like he's just a part of, he's an extension of our competition family now. And he like I said, unless he decides he doesn't want to come back next year, it's going to be his role. And obviously with Brian, like I've been talking to you for a couple of years, and you've done a lot for me in the sense of like, hey man, like these dates, watch out for this, watch out for that. Just kind of looking out for my event and going back and forth and talking, and just I feel like we've created this relationship, outside of just like working relationship or whatever. And so it was really cool to have you finally come out, meet you, work with you. And again, this is my first time with you, so when you come back next year, I'll know all the things that we need to make your job easier. Whether it's programming stuff inside for the Wi-Fi, the different things you need for like the athletes and stuff. And so I'm grateful for all the hard work you guys put in this weekend. And you guys are the storyteller of my event. Between the media, the MCs and Brian, like this. If we don't have this stuff, no one outside of the venue, no one knows what we're doing. And I think that this is one of those years where we're able to really kind of extend our reach for a broader, viewership of our event. And I think that's going to create value for us from sponsorships and bringing in new athletes and getting hungry athletes, not even just from the elite division, but our the scaled athletes and the intermediate athletes that see the event, to see what's going on. I'm hoping that will really kind of show them what we're doing and showcasing what we're doing. So thankful for you guys. Thank you for the athletes, Ben. This is like your third year at our event, man, dude. Like obviously you're someone chasing the games, I would imagine, right? I mean, you're competing at semifinal events and whatnot, so it's always cool to see you come back and see value in our event and see that it holds an opportunity to showcase what you're doing, and we're doing it the right way, hopefully. And
I wouldn't be back if you weren't
again,
doing it the right way, Tim. I've
Yeah,
gone
I
to
mean,
comps that I won't be going back to, and yours isn't one of
yeah.
them. So
The athlete experience is is without a doubt number one. Then after that, it's our staff, our spectators. Like if they don't have fun, they're not going to come back. Like if you use and abuse your staff, man, they're not going to come back. So taking care of our judges, taking care of our people, it's the best we can. At the end of the day, I think sometimes like the hard part is like we don't get like a lot of outside support. Like I'm not again. I had everything you see. I have to buy because for the most part, like no one's saying, "Oh yeah, Rogue's not showing up at our front door just dropping off rigs and barbells," right? And so those are things that I've just poured back into the event. So like instead of taking all the money we could potentially make, it's like let's buy these things every year so that we can get to the point where we're self-sustainable. I don't need any. If all these other competitions that are running their events, if one day their equipment sponsor says, "Sorry, man, we don't got you anymore," like what are they going to do? Like I don't need anybody to say yes or no to me. I think the more that people have told me no, the better off I've been, because it makes me hungry. Like, okay, cool. My goal is to never need you guys ever again. My goal is to never need anybody from like a equipment standpoint or things of that nature. I want to be as self-sufficient as possible. Now, obviously, like the event itself is very expensive to run. So I'm very thankful with some of our financial sponsors and our marketing sponsors, things of that nature to help us with the event. But at the end of the day, I think, my goal has always been every year is to make sure that we elevate the experience for our athletes, continue to grow, not never to stay the same, but also to make sure that we don't ever overextend ourselves so that our product is diluted at all. Because I think that's what kills a lot of events is they try to do too much and then they kill that experience. Some athletes, it's their first time ever, and they're like, "Dude, I'm not coming back to this event. This thing was crazy." And so I think that if we can hit the mark, hopefully we retain all of our previous athletes, and then obviously gain more. So that's always the goal. So
sweet. Well, thank you guys.
Yeah, I will say, like, to say like retaining athletes, like that's definitely the one thing when I go to competitions year to year that stands out to me, because it's like again, Ben's been there 3 years in a row, and it's just like a true testament. It's like, Tim, you probably see it's like with your members, when you've had members there for years, it's like they love coming to this place and they wouldn't, change it for the world. So when you have people from all over the place that keep coming back to your event, that fly in from other places, or they moved away and they originally had lived in Hagerstown or somewhere around there, and they keep coming back to the event, like it's just a true testament of like what you do or what you have done at the events of the years past that have created such an awesome experience, but also like how much they believe in coming back the next year, because they know it's going to be bigger and better, and that they're going to have an incredible weekend when they go there. And even for like myself too, like it's one of my favorite weekends of the year, and I'm super thankful for you guys for creating the opportunity for people like me to be able to go out and like do what I love doing. And it's so much fun. It's like every year I look forward to it, just like the athletes do, because it's like it's going to keep it gets better each year, and I know that I'm going to get taken care of, and it's going to be an awesome event. I'm going to have a great time. I'm going to meet new people, going to be with my friends that I talk to all year round, and it truly is like one of the most special weekends of the year. So thank you for that.
Oh man, you're making my heart full, buddy. Thank you, man. No, you're good, man. We love having you with us, man. You and Will and Jeff and that same crew we've been working together for the last couple of years. You guys are all just such good people, man. So
I will add, I think your media team is part of what sets you guys apart. I mean, Will and Jeff, all those guys. I mean, they're
awesome. They care so much.
I mean, I've been a lot of places at this point, and like I think they're the best at what they do.
Yeah, I mean, Will hit me up like years ago, and I had already hired a guy from my gym to do all of our media stuff. And Will was like, "I'll do it for free. I'll just come work, whatever you need me to do." And he outshined the guy I had. And I was like, whoa. And so I told Will, I mean, he did so much work for me for that year for free. Like he hustled. He was putting out content after content. I'm like, who is this kid? And he did so much for me that 1 year, literally for free, that I said to him, dude, like, you won this spot. This is even though like you maybe don't have at the moment the biggest name, which doesn't matter to me. I'm going to give you the spot. And so he got it the following year, and he is just, he's just taken off. I mean, he works so hard. He's a nice guy. He cares. He's very passionate. He wears his heart on his sleeve. And Jeff, Jeff got a hold of me about doing the event. And then after the event was over, him and Will had created a great connection. And then those guys have just been like inseparable. And so, again, those guys are just, I get emails, direct messages on Instagram all the time. Hey, I want to be a part of the media team. And, I made Will the director of our media a couple of years ago. And like, he's the one that makes these decisions because he's earned it. I mean, he was there for doing work for free, helping me build my thing before anybody else was willing to help me out. And so I'm all about loyalty. So, he'll forever have that position unless he says, I don't want to do it anymore. So.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Thank
you
you.
for having us on.
This is awesome.
Thanks for listening today. If you're someone who just started listening to the show, I would encourage you to subscribe so you can stay up to date. If you're someone who's been listening for a while, I would encourage you to rate and review the show. And lastly, the best thing that you can do to support our work is also the best thing that you can do for your performance. And that is by hiring one of our coaches. Until next time, stay the course.